Okay, folks, let's talk again about our database. And I just made a video about some changes that I'm doing to Mojo and my groups specifically, where I'm kind of focusing in on 3 groups within my database. My pros, these are prospects. These are people who have plans of making a move, whether buying or selling, within 12 months. Pals, these are people who support my business, who I've asked, are you comfortable referring me business? And then People Farm, these are people who maybe they have definite plans to move and they're a little farther out, 12 more than 12 months. And it could be a case where, maybe I need some more information on those people. Maybe I need another call back to determine where they need to go. And then they would go in here. So I'd like to talk about the specific criteria, because what I'm trying to accomplish here is to simplify my database. What are the key groups that I need to track and focus on building over time, and then get crystal clear on what is the criteria for someone to end up in this bucket, and then what's kind of the process, like what would it look like for them, how are they going to end up in this bucket. So let's say a prospect. Now, we're typically going to find these people by cold calling, or we could do it by door knocking as well. So what we're going to do is we have a phone conversation with somebody. They say they're definitely moving in 12 months. They either know where or when. They don't have to know both. So what we would do is we would put them into a temporary group called P-New. So these are our new prospects, and they need to go through an indoctrination process. We need to become a celebrity in their house. So how are we going to do that? 1, they're going to be added to our email list. 2, they're going to get our postcard once a week for 8 weeks. And then after that, every other week going forward until they list or die. So for 8 weeks, they're going to sit in this P-New bucket. Now, we got to track where they are as far as week 1 to week 8. So what I do is I have a miscellaneous field in Mojo where I can track that. So after the 8 weeks comes up, then they would move into the prospects bucket. And that's where they would sit. And there should be a monthly review of everything in here to make sure that there's not someone in there that's been in there for longer than 12 months. Because if that is the case, then they're not really a prospect. Because what we want to focus on is building this group here by cold calling and get this as big as possible. This is what like Tim Heil would call a nurture. So we want to make sure that they do have definite plans. They're moving within 12 months. Now, pals, these are people who support our business. They are comfortable referring people to us. So this could be your friends. This could be someone you've cold called. You had a good conversation with them. They may not have any plans of moving ever, but maybe they asked for your information. So that's somebody I would target to set them up to call them in the future to say, hey, we spoke a while back. I had a quick favor to ask you. I'm working on expanding my business. If you heard of anybody who is buying, selling, or investing in real estate, would you even feel comfortable referring them to me? If they say yes, boom, that's where they're going. So what would that look like? How would that kind of flow in? So these people here, we would initially put them in P-New as well. And then they're going to go through that 8-week cycle again. And then anybody who we're kind of targeting to go into pals where maybe they don't belong here, we don't really know them yet, but we want them to get that postcard for 8 weeks, and then we want to call them back in 3 months. So we want to call them back in 3 months, and that's when we're going to ask them, do you feel comfortable referring me to business? So for 8 weeks, they're going to sit in here. Then they're going to go here. That's Pal Z. And that's a temporary holding spot for all the people who we've run across either cold calling or door knocking or some other method, who have gotten the postcard for 8 weeks and we haven't yet called them. So they're going to be in this kind of in limbo bucket for a month until we call them back in 3 months, and by this time 2 months had gone by, so it's going to sit here for 1 month. Then we're going to call them. Once they say yes to that, then we're going to move them into the PALS bucket. Why we kind of go through that process, or why do I go through that process? Like, I want to vet these people because my pals, they're going to get 50 emails a year from me. They're going to get 2 pop buys. These people are going to be invited to my client appreciation event, which Colton Lindsay has challenged me to have 3 of those this year, and I totally accept that challenge. And we'll have 3 client events this year. So I'm gonna be spending money on these people, spending time driving to their house. So I want to make sure that we're set up here to get future business from them, because they're going to go into my referral generator program. Now, everybody over here in People Farm, there again, these people are actually, they're going to go right into and the goal of this is really it's kind of a middle bucket to call in between prospects and, say, our cold calling list. So they're people that we have talked to that maybe we need to talk to in the future to determine if there's somewhere, if they fit in here. But it's kind of a temporary holding spot until we can figure out exactly where those people need to go. Or let's say, for example, like an expired or a FSBO, it would be very hard for them to end up in this bucket here. So if an expired, they say, hey, we're not going to sell right now, but we may sell in the future, and that they have a legitimate story as to why they can't sell now, and that makes more sense for them to sell in the future, that would go here. Just because we don't want to, at this point, I don't want to spend money mailing them stuff, but I do want to follow up with them by phone to see if there is something that can be done in the future, and then we would move them to here once we got a little bit closer to where they would be ready to do something. So this is kind of the overview of kind of how the process would play out, how people would end up in here. And again, these are the focus areas. How do we grow that prospects bucket as big as possible? How do we grow the PALS bucket as big as possible? How do we grow, not necessarily how do we grow the People Farm as big as possible, but how do I take those people that are in People Farm and get them out, and where are they going? Are they mostly ending up in the trash, or are they mostly ending up in prospects? So just knowing all that and focusing in on these 3 groups is going to help us to have a simple database and a process to go along so that we can maximize our follow-up time and the business that comes from those follow-up calls. So hope you have gotten something out of this. If you have any questions, just post it here. Hit me up on Facebook. Call me 678-761-2493. Thanks so much for watching. Have a great day.